And we are live. We are in the pre-stream now. So we'll sit here for like a minute, wait for everybody to show up.
Yep.
That's just
I don't get nervous. I get nervous after like the fourth episode.
because he's like
It'd be heartbreaking.
yes, it is. I guess I'm nervously
Like
excited.
Kim Jong-un.
Love the audio. I'll fix it one.
Oh god, is it doing the thing again?
Is it immediately fucked? I'll fix it.
Yeah, come on, you gotta remember how to fix it now.
I remember. You just have to refresh it. Dude, where's the button? They moved it.
What?
What is wrong with them? Here we go.
I thought this was open source. Why did they change something?
I fixed it. Is my audio good? Because I didn't refresh mine because I don't see the button.
Okay. Is my audio turning itself down? It isn't. That's beautiful. Why is it so quiet?
All right, we're good? Fully good?
Yep.
All right, awesome.
Okay. I'm just turning my gain up. Risking quipping.
Here, I'll send the link here. Anyone wants to show up? Okay, here we go. All right. The real countdown. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 22 of the Dasher Podcast. And today we are joined by our first music guest and one of the most known GD artists. Not really GD artists, but artists that unintentionally made their way into GD. I don't really need to introduce him. Everybody knows who it is. Dimrain47. How are you doing, man?
What up? Thanks for having me.
Dude,
so
I'm
what the
so
hell?
excited.
What the hell is a GD? First of all,
yeah, what is? I don't know what that is. I'm just talking. Just nervously excited. I don't even,
I got all these people, popping into my YouTube channel talking about all of these blood baths and cataclysms and shit for years, and I literally have no clue where all this traffic is coming from.
Yeah, I don't even know what it is either.
Yeah,
oh,
what
there's
the hell?
echo. Dude. Is there echo? It might be from Dimrain or something. Maybe he's not wearing headphones.
I am wearing headphones.
Oh, someone's guilty of having some echo. It isn't me, is it? No, it wouldn't be me. Oh.
Someone's just gaslighting. You see this? You see this? We're distracted by the chat. Somebody's trying to derail the stream because they're jealous. Someone asked if you were 43.
I'm not 43. That's a good guess, though. I'm hella old, but I'm not 43
I just looked
yet.
it up before this because I was curious. I was 1 year off my guess.
Really?
I am 36.
Oh. Yeah, what the hell? That's not 43.
I thought you were 31.
I wish I was 31.
Dude, there's a wiki that said you were 31. I'm like, well, he's 31.
That wiki's misinformation, man.
Are you going to celebrate when you're 47?
Am I going to celebrate when I'm 47? I hadn't thought about that, but most likely.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that is the celebration of the century right there. Okay, let's actually get into some material. So a lot of this might overlap with HJFod's questions from his interview a couple years ago, but it's fine. I'm going to get into the interesting stuff because I really want to talk about music and stuff. I've recently started learning Ableton, and I've watched a lot of people like Home, if you know who that artist is, just making music and stuff. And I actually have a funny story about one of the plugins that you use in your music. So I don't know if it's the exact same one, but it sounds really similar. I'm pretty sure you use the Citrus plugin Inferno for that specific guitar noise in songs like Infernoplex. And when I found that, I was like, oh my god, it's the thing. It's the thing from the song.
It's the thing.
What is that?
Yep.
Is that am I right?
You're right. Yeah.
Oh!
So I mean, it's a dead giveaway, right? The song's called Infernoplex.
I never thought about that.
The preset is called Inferno. At least it was back in the day when I put that out. I think it's still called Inferno in the Citrus,
It might be
in the Citrus VST that comes stock with FL Studio.
Yeah, man. Have you used Ableton before?
Maybe briefly, a long time ago, but I haven't used it recently. No.
I know a lot of music artists who use both, but a lot of them tell me that a lot of people tell me that people use FL more for mixing and finalizing and Ableton more for producing. But that's probably just BS. I think they can both achieve the same thing. You just have to learn it.
So I used Reason for a while back in the day. I never actually produced on it, but I did kind of dip into it to learn a little bit back in the Dimrain heyday. I found it pretty complicated, but yeah, FL Studio just kind of has like a new user-friendly vibe to it. I think it's easier. It's got a lower barrier to entry. I think it's a little bit more intuitive for newer users, but I've heard that it's like the least, like other users for other sound engines and workstations kind of laugh at FL Studio users.
I was actually going to disagree, but I don't have that much musical. I don't have that much producing knowledge, but I have made a couple songs and I picked up on Ableton faster personally.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't touched Ableton in a while, so I could be wrong. It could be different nowadays. But at least back in the day, 10, 15 years ago, when I was kind of just getting started, I felt like FL Studio was easier to pick up. Not only that, but it had like a free demo, right? You could download the software for free. And that obviously was a huge draw for like a 15-year-old kid who has no money.
How did you get started? Like what inspired you? I'm sure you've answered this before, but I just want to hear it.
Yeah, so I talked about this a little bit in HJFod's video, I think. So I had a friend in middle school who turned me on to Newgrounds. We would just, we'd go over to each other's houses and we would just kick it and play games and watch videos and whatnot. And some of these Flash videos had some pretty interesting electronic music. And it turns out like the entire website has an audio portal that you could submit your music to, and any of the Flash artists or game developers can essentially use that audio portal music for free, like license free, for their projects, which I thought was pretty cool. And so I kind of just started clicking around the audio portal, and I found like the electronica, techno, trance section, and I just really liked what I heard there. It was, it was kind of fresh. It was not really something that you hear on the radio, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. So it was new to me, and I really liked it. I really liked how most of them don't have lyrics. Yeah, lyrics are actually something that turned me off of a song. Like,
oh really?
Well, it's not that I don't like lyrics. Obviously, it's like I can't like the song if I don't like the lyrics. Like lyrics can bother me really easily, to where music, I can appreciate almost always, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
So I like that about. Yeah. I liked that about the music I was hearing. Particularly, like, there's no lyrics in those audio submissions because they're submitted for the use in projects, right? So adding lyrics or any sort of vocals like that most of the time, I think, would kind of derail the tracks from what their intended use is to be like backing tracks for a video game or something along those lines.
Yeah, I get you. That's for sure.
So I'm a god awful vocalist. So I was like, hey, I can probably write some music and I don't even have to sing, right? Or anything like that. So I was kind of clicking around some of my favorite artists submission like comment sections, and somebody was asking like, oh, what did you use to make this song? And that artist was like, I use FL Studio, and I had no idea what that was at the time. So I went and I just, kind of looked it up and found out that you could download the trial version. And so I downloaded it for free, and I just started writing music.
Yeah.
The trial version, you can't save.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah. I was going to ask, like, I wonder if you just recorded over it and that's how you mastered it.
I didn't master, like back in the day. I didn't even know what mastering was. I didn't have any concept of music production. I was like a sophomore in high school, or maybe a junior. I can't remember. I think it was like 2005. I might have been senior. I had no concept of music production. I had no idea what it was, what the process was to go from like an idea to a fully produced track. I didn't even know music theory at that point. I had played like instruments in the school band. I took piano lessons as a kid for like 2 months, right? I didn't really have a whole lot of formal training or anything. And you got to remember, back then, YouTube was not what it is today. Like,
yeah, YouTube was made in 2005.
It's free education, right? It's as long as you have an internet connection, you can get knowledge, in-depth training and knowledge on just about anything nowadays.
Yeah.
But back then it wasn't like that. It was like you had to know somebody, or you had to go to the library and buy a book on music production if you wanted to learn about it. Right. And so it was hard. I think it was harder to access the information. And kids who are trying to get into pretty much anything nowadays have it easy because of the internet and just how easy it is to access everything. So I didn't master, to answer your question, I didn't master anything. Even all the way up to The Falling Mist, which was my last published track, that wasn't even mastered.
Wow, really?
No, I mean, that's even back then, I had more of a concept of production tools like compression, but I wasn't good at it. I tried my best. I didn't peer review anything. Nowadays you can join communities and you can share your music, and everyone can kind of learn off of each other and give each other suggestions. And I think that's a great way to learn for something like this. But I didn't even do that. I was just kind of going with my instinct. And I think that's one of the biggest criticisms, especially of the early music that I put out, was number one is I used primarily presets, right? And number two is that the production quality was not great. It was definitely below average.
Yeah, that's. I was gonna ask. So you have a lot of songs that weren't fully mastered or even mastered at all. Even with the mastered songs after, do you ever go back? Because a lot of music artists, sometimes I watch people like Home make music in Ableton on stream and stuff, and they'll go back and open a bunch of old projects and they'll be like, oh, why did I use those drums? Or why did I use that? Is there a song that you've made in the past that's fully mastered that like you've ever went back to listen to and just went like, oh, why did I use that? Or why did I do that? Because that's something a lot of creative people do, I feel like. Because it's always about like, I mean, some creative people just immediately move on, but when you do get a taste of what you've made before, it's like, since you've learned from it and you feel like you found something better, it's like, oh, why did I do that? Are there any examples of that?
I mean, I could listen to any old Dimrain song and cringe a little bit, at a certain point.
Even the beloved Atzel.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
So I the first thing that comes to mind is actually in The Falling Mist. There's a piano part that I think goes on a little bit too long, and the mix gets really thick at this specific spot, and I always kind of listen to that part and I wish that I would had subtracted a little bit to make the mix a little clearer. There's kind of like this pedal tone in the piano part right before the second chorus, and I wish I had not added that part, or I should say, I wish I had cut that part out a little bit earlier in the track to leave room for the other instruments, if that makes sense.
Have you thought about remastering any old tracks, or have you?
So that would require time,
Yeah.
which is something that
Yeah.
is hard to come by
Yeah.
these days. Remastering, you know, when you say remastering, do you mean remastering, or do you mean like remixing?
It might be a little bit of both. You know how some old songs get remixed and remastered to have a crisper, more clear quality as opposed to their original composition? Just stuff like that, like just remastered, cleaned up a little bit to how you would do it today, but the exact same instrumental, the same chorus, the same, you know,
Yeah, so
just a generally clearer sound.
That's an interesting idea. So I don't know if you know this, but there's this guy on YouTube who's recreated like almost every Dimrain47 song in FL
Oh, really?
Studio. Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, do a Google search really quick.
Yeah,
If
I got you.
Type in
We don't have a Jamie, but I have myself.
Nice. Yeah.
Hey, anyway, keep talking. I'll find
It's
it.
this guy, Albert. Yeah, Albert.
Ah, yeah, I found him. Yep.
So he's put in a lot of time. Yeah, this is the cryotube. So he's found like every single preset that I've used in every song, and he's basically note for note recreated all of my later songs.
So it's kind of what you would have done, right?
And the thing is like they're better quality. They're better quality than the originals.
I feel like, again, though, I think on some songs sound better when they're lower quality. That's like a weird take, but do you get what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, something nostalgic about the way a song sounds.
Yeah.
When you listen to something over and over, and then you hear a remastered version, you don't like it because it's not what you're used to.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned that because, dude, this is opening so many things that I didn't write down, but I would love to talk about. So a lot of people don't experiment with this, but I think should. There's a lot of people out there who don't like pitch songs after they're fully done, because there are some songs that I've heard for the first time that I don't know are slightly altered that sound so much better than what they actually sound like. And an example of that, this is kind of niche, but there was a Psychedelic Furs song, I think it was called Love My Way, and I was just watching it on, you know how people make those YouTube compilation playlists? It was slightly slowed down, and I didn't know, and it sounded great. But then I went to go listen to the original because I wanted to get it on my phone for my driving playlist, and it sounded worse. And I'm like, something is off. Have you ever experimented with like changing the pitch or, you know, the time displacement or BPM and stuff like that in your music when it's done? I feel like you can do that forever.
Not even when it's done. Like during the creative process, that happens all the time. So for example, let's say you're working on a melody and you want to hit like this high note, like at the climax of this melody or solo or whatever, but the instrument timbre starts to give out at that note. Let's say like it sounds good until you get there, and the VST or the plugin or the instrument or whatever just isn't really designed to go that high. Or vice versa. Maybe you're trying to hit a low note and it just sounds like shit on that particular note because it was designed for a specific range and you're going outside of this range. You sometimes, so one solution is to just not use that note, but another solution is to pitch up the entire song so that when you get to that note, it's not as low and it stays within that instrument's range. Or vice versa, pitching it down if you're going too high outside of the instrument's range, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Imagine if sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, and then you asked about tempo too. Tempo less so. I mean, I've tried speeding some song. Once you get to a certain speed and you start hitting 16th note runs, it just sounds silly. Like it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like Nightcore.
Right. And if that's what you're going for, if that's what the point is, then sure. But I find that most of the tracks that I write, they'll range between, I mean, the really slow ones are usually like in the 120, 130 range. And then maximum, yeah. I think I start, I top out at around 170, 180, something like that. I don't think I've ever written anything faster than that.
That'd be a constrained challenge. That'd be cool. You know you should do at some point? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not experienced in making music at all. Could you explain for me and for those watching who don't know, what is mastering and why do you do it?
Sure. It's funny that you're asking me about mastering, because literally there's no Dimrain47 song that exists in the public that's mastered. So yeah, mastering is gluing all of the frequency ranges over an entire track, or sometimes over an entire album, into place so that you don't have any sharp peaks that come above the mix and like distort, cause oversaturation. And it helps balance out like the different frequencies. Let's say that your bass is a little underpowered compared to the rest of the frequencies in the song. Yeah, mastering will help level that out so that the bass, the mid-range, and the high-end frequencies all kind of play nice together. It also brings the volume of your track up to the highest point that it can be to be played on, like, the radio or public streaming services.
Like normalizing it or whatever.
Yeah, because typically when you're mixing down before you start the mastering process, your signal is very low. So mastering helps bring it up to like a commercial level, so that when you're listening to music by different artists, they all sound like they're at the same volume.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. That's the mastering process. It's to equalize everything.
Yeah, I was going to say it also can prevent muddiness. I forget what the actual term is. It might be that. Isn't it like muddy? When everything is clumped together and it's just all like an amalgamation of sound. Isn't that what it's called? Muddy?
Yeah, I mean that's right? That's a term that some people use to describe it, definitely. It's when there's frequencies that kind of conflict in one area. Usually that is eliminated in the mixing process. Mastering is kind of manipulating your track once everything is done. Mixing is kind of where you balance the individual instruments against each other. So let's say this piano part is too loud and it's overpowering, I don't know, some other instrument. The mixing process is where you kind of make individual adjustments there. And once everything sounds good, the mastering process brings all of the frequency ranges together and brings that volume level up and smooths everything out.
Are you familiar with low pass filters?
Sure.
Are you able to explain that even for somebody like me? Because I've just started to dabble into that. And I have a general idea, but I just want to hear it from you if you've actually used it in songs before.
So I always, so low pass and high pass, I always forget which one is which, because the way that I always think about it is I always find that it's the opposite. So
I think low passes you keep the low end.
And I think so. Like the low end. Right. So it's basically just a filter that cuts off a certain frequency and anything above that. So for example, if you have a bass guitar part or something, you really only want, depending on the genre, right? You really only want the bass frequencies. If you have an instrument like an actual bass guitar, there's going to be some high frequency in there in the recording, maybe from the player, like, hitting the frets with his fingers, or, the strings kind of bouncing off the fretboard or something, or just the actual string itself has some high frequency sound in it. You apply the filter to it to cut that out, because that sound isn't really wanted. You really just want the low mids and the bass sound coming from that instrument. So you would apply this low pass filter to it in the mixing process. And the reason why you'd want to do that is because if the high frequency sound isn't required, you cut it out so that the instruments that do need that high frequency sound have more room in the overall like sound spectrum.
Yeah, yeah. Getting back to what we were talking about before, dude, I don't know why I'm blanking. Yeah, about pitching stuff and changing stuff. What do you think? This might have to like just take you a second to remember. What is the most drastic change to a song that could have or would have happened as a result of pitching and messing around with the track? That might be a difficult question, but I am kind of curious if you have an answer for it. That might take a second. It's a hard question.
The most drastic change as the result of adjusting pitch?
Yeah, or just, messing with a finalized track, if you know what I mean.
I don't know if I have any direct answers, but I'll give you a fun piece of trivia here that has to do with pitching. So in Operation Evolution, are you familiar with that track?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you pull it up, actually, I think I can illustrate this a little bit better if you actually just pull up the song and go to the very end.
All right. Should I turn the audio on for the stream too?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, might as well. I'll have to swap desktop audio on. All right. It might loop for a second, so there. Okay. So where do I go?
The very end, the very last note.
This one?
That was it. So go like, I don't know, a couple seconds before that.
Isn't that called I forget what doing that is called.
All right, so just wait till the end of the run and the very last note. Right there. So it sounds pretty dissonant, right? That very last note sounds, I don't know if you can tell, but actually the guitar part, which is the Inferno instrument from Citrus, I actually landed on the wrong note.
Dude, my Minecraft is open. Hold on.
I was gonna say, I hear
villagers.
Yeah, I heard that.
Sorry. That's a funny. Sorry.
Yeah, it was actually part of the original mix.
Oh, I think I see what you mean. It sounds like it's overlapping or something.
Right. So if you take two notes that are a half step apart, like if you go to a piano and you play a white note and a black note that are right next to each other, you get this dissonance. It's called a minor second. And it's very uncommon to use this, especially in popular music. But it creates this sense of dissonance, and it sounds bad to most people. They use it in horror movies a lot to like create uneasiness. But
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, like think of Psycho, like when he rips the shower curtain back and he's like stabbing the woman in the shower. It's going like ring, 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 right?
All right, turning the audio back on.
I accidentally pitched that last note up or down a half step. I can't remember. And it was a complete accident. And I didn't notice it until after I had bounced the track down and uploaded it and distributed it. I heard the last note and I was like, shit, that's wrong. That was it. I'm actually not even hitting the right note at the very end. It was like the longest, most diverse track I had put out at that point. And I felt like at the time that I completely botched it by this simple mistake at the very end.
I didn't know about it. If that helps.
Most people I think don't know that there's a minor second at the very end there, but it bothers the shit out of me even to this day.
Yeah, you know what that reminds me of? There's a Beatles song where Paul McCartney misses a chord, and in the final version of the song, you can hear him just say fucking hell in the background.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I forgot what song it is. Someone will.
I know which one it is, but I don't know the name of it.
Yeah, it's just funny.
I know immediately.
Like I forgot what it is, but that is really funny.
It wouldn't be Hey Jude, would it?
I think it is.
Maybe
I don't know. There's a lot of
that's
stuff.
been pulled
There's a
from the
web.
depths
Did
of
you
my
know?
mind. So.
Did you know there's a website dedicated to that stuff? Dedicated to
sure.
like niche music mistakes?
What people's bad just
No, just like funny
mistakes?
mistakes in songs that people don't realize when they make it. Well, I guess you would realize if you're Paul McCartney missing the chord and just being like, "Well, we're not re-recording it." Fuck that.
I think one of the most famous ones is "Time of Your Life" by Green Day.
Yeah.
He starts, they left that in the studio recording, which I think is hilarious. But he starts playing, the very beginning of the song, he starts playing the opening riff, and he messes it up twice, and you can hear him go like "fuck," and then he actually starts the actual song. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
I think it's a similar thing, but I think in Creep by Radiohead, he was literally deliberately trying to mess up the recording because they didn't like the song by just putting in random guitar notes before the beginning of the chorus. But to a lot of people, that ended up making it actually better. Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? There's so many. I bet there's so many happy accidents like that in music where someone tries to make something bad and then everyone's like, "This is good, actually." What?
Oh yeah,
I wonder.
Definitely.
Yeah.
A lot of the creative process, and it's not just with music either. It's with visual art or storytelling or writing. You can only plan so much, but when it's time to come, to your drawing table or whatever, and put down your idea, half of it is like just making shit up along the way, and that's what kind of makes it art,
Dude, have you ever been laying awake at night trying to go to bed and then you think of that perfect melody, but you can't get up to go put it in FL Studio?
I think about music all the time, and it really hurts that like I wish I could have done this full time, and tried to be like some music producer, but it's a really, really tough road. I mean, there's first of all, there's a shitload of competition, right? Everyone wants to be. I mean, nowadays it's more like I want to be a streamer. Now.
Yeah, you want to be the thing.
Yeah, and it's fun. Like working on creative projects is really fun. So oftentimes, young people they chase those dreams because it's what they like to do. It's what they're passionate about, and it sounds more interesting than like a safe but boring 9-to-5 job, in corporate America. But it's actually more work, and a very small percentage of being a professional artist is actually creating art. There's a lot to like the business side of it, and negotiations and PR and distribution and handling all of that, which a lot of people, they get into it and they decide, this sucks. It's making me hate what I'm actually passionate about because I have to deal with all this other bullshit. Right.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what's happened to artists like Home. Are you familiar with him?
I'm not.
Have you ever heard the song Home Resonance before?
I don't think so.
I could play it for a second because it's not copyrighted.
You might have, but you just don't know the name of it. That's
God, I love that guy. But I feel like he's probably fallen into that because none of his music is copyrighted, and he does that on purpose. And every so often, a company or like someone pretending to be a record label will just, claim his whole discography as their own, and just try to copyright claim every YouTube video that uses his music. And he's been through that so many times. And it got to a point where he just made a tweet making it as obvious as possible that like all of my music is copyright free and it'll never be copyrighted, blah, blah, blah. I wonder if that's deterred him away from making music, because I can tell that I don't know him personally, but maybe he just doesn't have time. But he is a very talented artist. I wonder if he still has that spark in him, or if he's just been demotivated by all of the copyright bullshit that comes with being an artist that's copyright free. Same with Windows 96, which is another artist like that. A lot of his songs aren't copyrighted.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've run into this problem as well.
Yeah. Really? Are you copyrighted? I don't think you are, right?
So when people say copyrighted, it depending on who's asking, what they mean actually differs. So
Right.
Yes, if you go to the Library of Congress and you look up At the Speed of Light, you'll see that I have a copyright on that track.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when people ask, "Oh, is this copyrighted?" What they mean is, "Am I going to get my video taken down?" And you
Mhm.
can have a copyrighted track like At the Speed of Light, which I have, and in the most conservative sense of the word, I have a copyright for. But
You're the holder.
yeah, right. But when I distributed it through DistroKid, I did not place copyright on that song. So YouTube isn't going around taking down every video that has a snippet of At the Speed of Light in it.
Do you make royalties
Yeah.
from it, or is it just
No.
free to
I mean,
use?
if
Free to
someone
use with
else
permission.
No, if someone else uses At the Speed of Light in a video, no, I don't see money from that.
I think I can recall instances of where people have done the same thing with that song too, but it only lasts like, a week before YouTube is like,
I
oh,
think-
hold on.
From
Right.
personal experience, I don't know if it's happened when I've used your music, but with a lot of other Newgrounds music, like I've had random videos of mine just claimed, and it's just not, a content ID matched song in any way. It shouldn't be, but it gets claimed by someone like Sakup and Hell's being claimed. I don't think yours has been for me, but I'm not sure.
I
But
mean,
it happens quite a lot, and you can't even
Yeah.
dispute it because you have to give them your address and stuff. So most of the time I don't bother because it's just
Right.
such a process to appeal that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, YouTube's got to handle it in a way that deters false claims. So I think that's why they ask for all that information. But not too long ago, just a couple months ago, I had someone come onto my Twitter and say, "Hey, you're copyright claiming my video. My video just got taken down, right?" And so I've had people come out pissed, saying like, "Fuck Dimrain47, he's copyright claiming all of our shit." And it turns out it's not even me, right? It's someone else who's re-uploaded, one of my tracks through a distributor like DistroKid, and then they click the copyright claim button on when they upload.
Wow.
So it's someone else stealing music, and that submission is actually striking everyone's videos, and everyone comes after me for it. So I have to go and I have to reach out to the distributor saying, "Hey, this artist, is executing copyright infringement. You need to take this down." And almost always it's very easy, and I get a reply back within 24 hours saying, "It's done. Sorry, it won't happen again," kind of thing.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of mixed things about DistroKid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, just the usual. Same with like Bandcamp and stuff like that. Dude, there was a thing that happened a couple years ago where Bandcamp merged with I forget what it merged with. It merged with some shady company that nobody really likes. And I remember people were horrified. I'll have to find that. I don't know if people can remember what I'm talking about. I forget what it was.
Someone is saying,
Was it
I've heard mostly bad stuff about DistroKid.
Oh, that's what it was. It was when Epic Games acquired Bandcamp, I think.
What?
It was something like that, and people were terrified about the future of Bandcamp. That could be wrong. Take that with a grain of salt, but it was something like that. I remember when that happened, and everyone was like freaking out on Twitter, but like nothing happened. Yeah, I mean, I might as well talk about the copyright stuff as well on my end from experiences I've had before with Home. Just, to give Dimrain an idea of how it's like on the content creator side. So I've explained already that they'll, pretend to be a record label or this or that. I forget what the label was called that they were pretending to be, but they'll claim as many videos as they can. And basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to make it so that you either won't notice and you won't contest it, or you do contest it. And if you do contest it, they most likely won't even try to dispute it because they're already doing it, you know,
Everywhere else.
illegally.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so all you do is you just file a dispute with YouTube and just literally just be like, hey, this is BS. You can say whatever you want, really. They won't dispute it most of the time. I have had instances of them actually just being like, nope, this is our music. And I'm just like, dude, because it sucks. If it's never happened to you, they're just stealing so much money. I almost lost like, I don't know, like thousands of dollars because, you know, it would be like 3 months of just the money being in escrow while YouTube figures out what the fuck is going on. And I mean, dude,
Mhm.
shout out to Summoning Salt for telling me what the fuck to do about that, because I would have probably just, you know, because I don't know. I emailed him because we use similar music. And yeah, and he was like, dude, I get this all the time. You just got to do this and you'll be fine. So that was very reassuring. But that's basically what happens on the copyright side of things. If you know, if a producer is claiming to be a music artist and they're not, all you do is you just contest it, and then they, you know, 90% of the time they just won't do anything about it, and then the claim will be released in 30 days. And that's it.
Mhm.
So
There's a lot of
that
shysters
probably
out
sounds
there.
a lot.
Sucks.
Yeah, it's not that bad. I mean, it happens like once every 2 months. I'll get a studio notification being like, there's a copyright claim on this video because, like, yeah, it was the Orchard. It was the Orchard Records. That was who they were pretending to be. And Home made a tweet about it, and he was like, guys, I was messaging him on Twitter too, and he's like, hold on, hold on. But I mean, I just thought it was a funny thing. I don't know if you've dealt with any like extreme copyright problems that you haven't talked about, but that's my story.
No, it's pretty much like the instance that I just mentioned, where there's a re-upload, and it's causing problems with content creators trying to use Dimrain music in their tracks.
All right. Well, I think it's time we get into GD and what everybody is here for.
Yeah,
At
I
the
have a
speed of
few
light and
GD
all this
questions.
stuff. I wanted to ask, I mean, obviously you answered this briefly on Fod's interview, but how did you initially find out what was happening in GD?
Yeah, At the Speed of Light dropped in 2012, and initially it was, you know, it didn't blow up right away because, you know, it was just another Dimrain song. And I kind of designed my Dimrain tracks for video games, but I also kind of just write music for my own, you know, I write what sounds good to me. Sometimes they're not video game worthy, but this particular track, it just because of the pace and just all of the melodic movement, I guess it works really well in video games, right? And a couple of years after I dropped that song, I think it might have been 1 or 2 years, I just noticed one day randomly I checked the song and it had like 2 or 3 million views, which was way more than any other track that I had. Right, we're talking 10 times more than any other track I had up, and it was just randomly, at least to me it seemed random. And then lo and behold, you go and you check the comments section, and I start seeing words I've never seen before, like, you know, cataclysm and this and that. And so after, you know, I just had to Google it to find out that it was geometrydash. And I guess it was used in several levels that were really popular. You guys would know better than me, actually.
There's been quite a few, yeah.
And
I think with that song you got at least like 6, 7 pretty big levels, maybe.
Right, and they kind of use different parts of the song.
Yeah. After Catabath is a combination of Aftermath, Bloodbath, and Cataclysm, which is all of the 3 main parts of At the Speed of Light. Super cool.
Got Apocalyptic Trilogy, which is that, but with, I don't know, better decoration.
It's just Rebirth,
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, think of it that way. But yeah, man,
there are many of them.
That day must be in your like calendar. I could just imagine like you being in awe, just being like, "What's happening?"
So yeah, I was definitely stoked on it.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool because that was kind of the point for me making music in the beginning. Anyway, was I wanted to make it so that it could be used in games and little flash videos or whatever like this. And it was just cool to see it finally come to life and be used in like a big popular game like Geometry Dash. So I was pretty happy about it. I didn't actually monetize my channel until it was up to like, I don't know, 7-8 million views. And I still kick myself like, damn, I missed out on a little bit of cash there. I should have monetized it right away.
Yeah, that would have been a couple grand.
It's not that much. I get anywhere between like 250 to 350 from YouTube views. It's really not a lot. I mean, it helps. I would rather have 250 a month than 0.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's crazy how some of these self-made YouTube billionaires or millionaires like Mr. Beast come about. Because I've got a video with, I think it's At the Speed of Light's up to maybe like 15 million, 13 million views, and that's nothing. That's nothing compared to like Mr. Beast's videos that are like hundreds of millions.
Oh yeah.
I would
still
say
17 million.
I would say that's just on YouTube. In game, their levels have millions of downloads, and there are people playing those for like thousands of attempts. It could have been listened over, just even if it's just in snippets. At the Speed of Light has got to be had at least like 1 billion snippets listened to. I would say definitely.
Yeah, I can
definitely.
check Spotify's a really hard hitter too. Most of the passive income I get from my music is from Spotify.
I'm
At the
looking
Speed
it
of
up right
Light,
now.
particularly.
All right, what do we got? Yeah, 8 million on Spotify. I'm not sure how Spotify pays out. I'm not familiar with it. I'm sure it's similar to YouTube, right?
So I distribute through DistroKid. So
yeah,
it's lumped into like all of the royalties I get through the DistroKid distribution. But it does provide some metrics. I would have to look and see. But it's At the Speed of Light on Spotify is like 90% of my passive income.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, dude, somebody has been just putting the podcast on Spotify, and I didn't know who it was until like a month ago. And I'm just letting the guy do it because, like, I mean, whatever. It doesn't really make money, so I don't really care. I wonder if I'll regret that, though. Like, imagine if the podcast started, like, printing money on Spotify and just some random guys making all the money.
Oh, you just got to deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind. I got in contact with the guy. This is unrelated to this, but I got in contact with the guy just because I wanted to have contact with the guy who, is doing it in case I ever want to, ask him, be like, hey, we want to put it on ourselves. Can you take it down? But right now, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's going to happen sooner or later.
Oh, do you have a SoundCloud? Have you ever?
If I do, it's not me. There's probably a Dimrain SoundCloud.
We're about to check. I'm surprised you're not on SoundCloud. I wonder if that like makes anything. Probably not. Gotta remember my password. Is that it? Yep. All right. Because Home started on SoundCloud. Well, yeah. There's one for you. Oh, this is
okay.
10. This is 10 years ago. This might actually be you. Are you sure it's not?
No.
No.
I mean,
I'm not
sure.
I would have thought it was. Oh, you don't know?
So Dimrain47 uploaded Harlem Shake dubstep remix. That's definitely not me.
That's interesting because this is from October 2013. That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Fans also like Ruckus. Should get him on. All right,
God.
Let's dial it back. we have a lot to talk about still. So
I have some more GD questions that I.
Okay, go ahead.
These are just general GD questions because I'm not sure how familiar you are with the game. Have you ever played the game?
I've never played Geometry Dash. I've seen it played, obviously, just because of At the Speed of Light, and seeing, if you type in Dimrain47, half of the content is Geometry Dash.
Yeah.
On YouTube. No, I've never played it. Dude, it looks like a game where I would fuck shit up. It looks so frustrating.
Ooh.
To start with, it is, but I think after a certain amount of time, you just kind of get used to dying.
It's like making music.
Some of the, I've seen levels where it's like I would have an epileptic episode trying to get through this game. Like, some of it just looks so extreme. Obviously, right? I'm sure there's not all like that, but no, I've never played. I have a younger cousin, who's played with At the Speed of Light playing in the background while I'm sitting next to him on the couch. And I was like, "Hey, did you know that I wrote the music?"
Oh yeah,
this song?
yeah.
And obviously he didn't believe me. Maybe today, this was years ago. This was several years ago. But it was a funny story, because I told him that I wrote the music for the game that he was playing, and he just dismissed it and thought that I was just bullshitting him, which I think is pretty funny.
So
I'm just thinking of him like looking it up and being like, "Oh."
Have you seen many of the levels that use your music? Like, a lot of them, or just you've kind of not looked through very many?
I have a general understanding of like the big ones, just through the comment section on YouTube from people.
Right.
I would say a majority of the comments on At the Speed of Light are just like Cataclysm. That's literally the only thing that someone will post. Aftermath.
Yep.
Bloodbath.
Yeah.
It's like, if you removed comments that were just the name of one of the levels, I think it would take most of the comments. Yeah, just look at it. It's mostly just references to Geometry Dash. But no, if you were to show me the full list, I'm sure I wouldn't recognize a lot of the levels there.
Oh yeah, did you know that somebody has made a full level using Every End?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's called Every End, and it's by Mindcap, and it is a very difficult 1.0 style level. And it is hard as hell. It's one of those levels that is way harder than it looks, I feel like. Yeah,
Yeah. It's also, it looks way easier to create than it is. Like, it's one of the things that...
See, this right here with the graphics in the background moving forward is making me want to puke. Like, it's making my brain hurt just looking at it.
Oh yeah.
You know what's funny, Dimrain? When 2.2 came out, somebody made a working synthesizer in the editor. How fucking crazy is that? I can't even wrap my head around that.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what that means. Like, what you can...
He made like a full-on working synthesizer. I'll show you. It's insane, dude. But yeah, we're also gonna pull some questions from the comments and stuff like that too.
Yeah, I feel like we're kind of ignoring the chat a little bit as well.
How insane is this? It's just a synthesizer. Like, I don't even understand, man. It's just the capabilities of GD are just crazy. But yeah, let's start to pull some questions from the comments and stuff. I did want to hear about an incident that occurred with one of your songs that we'll get to, but I'll take a question first. All right, this is a good one. This comes from Dino SWR on YouTube, and it says, how do you feel about the recontextualization of At the Speed of Light from a song about space travel and exploration into people perceiving it as hellish after Cataclysm and Bloodbath?
I mean, you do you. It's whatever you want. Yeah, that it's funny because that's also like a really popular question on the At the Speed of Light in the comment section. Everyone thinks of like the color red or like the hell theme when they hear the song, even though it was the song originally about space, right? That's fine. I don't care. Like, music is whatever you want it to be for you. And that's also another reason why I like creating music that doesn't have lyrics.
Is it because of the interpretations?
Exactly. Yeah. If there are no lyrics, it's easier to interpret to be whatever you want it to be. And that's kind of, I think that's something special about music.
That is very special.
It's universal and it means something different to everyone. But yeah, that's great. If it goes down in history as being the hell level theme, I mean, that's totally fine with me. You know, I have nothing against it. Just keep listening to it on Spotify. That'll keep me happy.
What do you picture in your head when you hear that song? Is it like 2001: A Space Odyssey or something? Or is it just like, you know?
What do I picture in my head?
Like maybe when you were making that song, like what were your, when you think about space, what do you think about from your memory? Do you think about movies or just general space and the cosmos and the stars? I'm just curious.
Sure. I mean, like, I think Hollywood and movies have a huge influence on how we perceive things, especially things that are as mysterious and inaccessible as outer space are, right? We can really only take it for granted, or I suppose we can only accept what others tell us about some place like outer space or the bottom of the ocean, because you can't go there and see for yourself, right? So yeah, movies and video games. I like to think of space. I love those pictures that like the James Webb Space Telescope.
Yeah, I was going to bring that
up. Because I know that they're
the
like, yeah, exactly. And I know that they're like composites of different light spectrums. So when you look at the picture, they're like these that almost look like sunsets. There's just so much color there, right? Even though really these are like light frequencies that you can't really see. And they're like, these pictures are amalgamations of multiple pictures with different cameras overlaid and kind of, you know, composited into a single image. So it doesn't really look like that. But it always looks really nice. And I'm always in awe when I see those pictures. And so I think that might've been what I was picturing when working on that track. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder what your main inspirations are for the way your music sounds. Are there any artists that you take a heavy inspiration from or anything? Or was it just like a clean slate?
In the beginning, for sure, it was all of the other Newgrounds, like techno artists. Because that's what hooked me and made me decide I want to try this too. And so there was a lot of influence there from the beginning. I'm a pretty big metal fan as well. I listen to a lot of like, you know, pretty aggressive, fast-paced, like melodic, like subgenres of metal. So there's a lot of influence from there as well.
I've heard you were in a band.
I was in a few bands. Yeah, that's actually why I stopped making music like the first time around. Because it's so time consuming, right? I was in a couple of local metal bands in San Diego, California, which was fun and great, and I loved it, and it was a great experience. But yeah, so a lot of metal influence. I studied classical music in college as well. So, you know, I have a tattoo actually of Claude Debussy. The opening phrase of Claude Debussy's Clair de Lune on my arm.
That's a good song.
It's a banger.
Pretty depressing, but good song.
Yeah, everything.
Well, that's how I interpret it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so I love classical music. I love anything that's really aggressive. I love electronica for all the reasons I've mentioned before. So it's kind of just a swirling mix of all of that. But to answer your question, sometimes I'll hear something like, I used to live next to a kid who would play the piano, and I would just be sitting in my living room, and I would hear the kid. Maybe it was an adult. I don't even know. Someone was playing piano next door, and I would hear just like a small combination of notes, and it would inspire me. Like, oh, I can totally hear a progression under that, even though they're just kind of practicing something,
Mhm.
and I'm listening to it out of context. I would take that and I would go run to my own piano and try to catch that small like spark of inspiration, and it would become something, you know.
Yeah. Might be a weird curveball now, but do you think you can explain the situation that happened with Forsaken Neon about 8 years ago?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
Yeah.
so for Forsaken Neon, I mean, so at the time I had just discovered like melodic death metal, and one of like the pioneers and my favorite bands from that genre was a band called Children of Bodom. And I was just listening to all of their music, and I was also listening to a lot of other like scene core type stuff that was coming out of San Diego metal scene, from other bands that were kind of pioneering these other genres, and going to a lot of local metal shows. And so I kind of just took a lot of those songs parts and just mashed them up into like my own electronic version of them. But that song is mostly parts from various Children of Bodom songs.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, you got to remember, I was also like 16 years old. Obviously, I should have put some sort of disclaimer or something on the description when I uploaded it. I also had like a small, I wouldn't say feud, but there was another user on Newgrounds who, for one reason or another, just didn't like me at all. So once they found out that this track had parts taken from other songs, it was like, oh, I've got the silver bullet for you now, Dimrain. Like, you're going down, bitch. Like, this is the end. Your career's over. And it was blown into this huge thing, to where people tried to get me removed from Newgrounds, and it was totally insane. But eventually, at the end of the day, I was like, just don't listen to it. Like, if you don't like that it's using other songs' parts, okay. Like, I'm at that point in time, like, I wasn't making any money off of it. Like, what's the big deal? Like, the entire point is to upload free music for artists to use in their games. So,
Yeah.
like, are you gonna cancel me for this? Like, I'm not stealing anything for commercial use here. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what happened. This was like over a decade ago. But yeah, that's kind of like the summarized version of everything that happened there.
God, imagine if that happened now.
I mean,
you would
yeah.
die.
Well, so this is the reason why it's not on Spotify, or it's not on any of the distributed platforms,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not really 100% my own material. And
No, yeah,
so
I get it.
I get people asking all the time why Forsaken Neon is not on Spotify, and that's the answer there.
There you have it. Yeah, I mean, I also feel like, not defending that stuff, but I think a lot of art is inspired directly by other art, and sometimes people just take increments from other things and make it into their own. But I mean, I think at the same time, you do have to be weary of like, okay, well, can I do this like whole piece? Yeah, I get what you mean.
I mean, there was just this huge. Sorry, FN, if you wanted to say something, you can. You had a thought. I didn't.
Oh,
I didn't
you can finish first. Yeah.
Okay. No, I was just gonna, to follow that same point. There's just this huge court case with, what was it, Ed Sheeran, who was being. Yeah, I mean, he was being
I remember
sued.
that. Yeah.
I think it like wrapped up. I think
I'll
within
look
the
it up.
past year or two. But he was basically being sued
Who was
for.
it?
It was Ed Sheeran for sure.
Copyright infringement.
But
Yeah,
who
so he was
by
being.
was
Oh,
the
he's
question.
won.
I don't know who by. But he was being sued.
Taylor Swift?
No, it wasn't Taylor Swift. I can't for the life of me remember who.
No, that was a whole
suing
different
him.
thing. I can't remember.
Yeah, they just
Mhm.
this article just doesn't get to the point.
Anyways, what happened was he's being sued for a chord progression that he used in one of his
Ed
songs.
Townsend. That's who it was.
Okay. But I mean, a chord progression is like that's like suing someone. That's like suing an artist for using orange in their painting of a sunset.
Yeah.
It's like you can't copyright. Like there's a really cloudy area with the business of music, or the law side and the business side of music, because at what point is something copyright infringement when it comes to music? And so
Yeah.
he kind of had to. I mean, there's even one point where he brought his guitar into the courtroom and had to demonstrate why using a chord progression that another artist uses shouldn't be copyright infringement. Like
this is a very big thing.
Yeah. There's a pretty funny skit. I can't remember the group, but there's a skit on some comedy show from a long time ago where these guys play a 4-chord song. It's called the 4-chord song. If you look it up on YouTube, you'd be able to find it easily. But they basically sing every pop song within the past 20 years and how it uses the same progression. Yeah, it's called like Flight of the Conchords. Yeah, these guys here, or Excess of Awesome. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I've heard this before. Keep talking. I was gonna ask something in a second.
No worries, but this video showcases. I mean, Ed Sheeran could have just played that video in court. I don't think he had to bring his guitar in. But the point is, like, chord progression is like a tool almost. It's not really like intellectual property. Now, when you start to combine a melody on top with a chord progression, like, where do you draw the line? What is stealing? Now, Forsaken Neon is definitely stealing. I'm not trying to say that it's arguable there. Like, even down to the melodies and the chord progression, it was straight up taken from, a couple of Children of Bodom songs. Mm-hmm. But I'm just trying to say how it's really hard, and courts are still trying to figure out how do they handle copyright claims with music.
Yeah. Also, how do they prove that they didn't come up with it on accident?
And that's a big thing.
Yeah,
too.
there has to be like a reasonable
evidence. To answer Tortrick in the chat. Yeah, so I'll explain that real quick. The band Yellow Card did something similar to what we're talking about, and I'm Dimrain. I don't know if you know this, but I remember this. They sued Juice WRLD for this, claiming that his melody in whatever his most popular song is, whatever it's called, Lucid Dreams, is stolen from one of Yellow Card's songs. And then Juice WRLD died. I thought
that was a sample from like the 60s.
And then Juice WRLD died. And then Yellow Card took a break from the lawsuit for like, I don't know, 2 weeks, and then was like, yeah, we're going to keep suing. So fuck Yellow Card.
Well, when there's a lot of money involved.
It'll make you do anything. Yeah, it sucks. I was going to mention that when you were talking about the Ed Sheeran thing, when you initially brought it up, it's like, these people just want money.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, I think that's
I wonder how many people care about the justice more than they do the massive amount of money they would get if they won the case. You know what I mean?
It's just
Yellow Card definitely wanted the money.
Refusing to relent itself, I think, there. Because basically what happened is, at least from my experience doing photography, which is like my hobby, when you look at other people's work, you kind of add it to like a visual library, and you draw from that when you're just taking photos and stuff without really knowing. I presume it's pretty much the same with music, where you've heard something before and you use it again without even knowing, because it's just something you've heard before and you're used to.
100%. I can confirm. Yeah.
Yeah. Dimrain, I was going to ask you before you brought this up, how many times you've been working on making a chord and then you realized you've made something that already exists, because it happens so much.
So here's the thing. I mean, sometimes I'll be listening to music and I'll hear a progression that I know I want to use. And I have no problem with that, right? Like I said, a chord progression is a tool to use. It's not intellectual property that can be stolen. So I can hear a progression and be inspired by it, take it, and then write my own song with it. And that's 100% okay. And how many times does that happen? I mean, it happens all the time.
Thousands, millions.
Yeah.
Maybe millions of times. There's so much music. Vsauce made a really interesting video about this, about like how much more music do we have left? Because there's only a finite amount of notes and chords and, you know, progressions, to where it's so inevitable, especially now with the more, it's only going to progressively happen more frequently with the more and more music that's made. Like, it's impossible.
I remember someone saying, like, all the good music was written by people in wigs like 200 years ago. It's already been written.
I mean, maybe.
I mean, yeah.
It's a weird topic.
I don't think so. I don't think we will continue to come out with new and unique ways to make different music until the end of our species. Like, and that's true for art as well.
Yeah, especially when you remember the way music sounds.
Yeah.
So where, like, you could have a same melody, but it can sound completely different depending on how you synthesize the notes.
And
so
what
yeah, you're
instruments are
absolutely
used,
right.
timbre, especially when
you know
you
what I mean?
introduce lyrics. I mean, it's an infinite realm.
Yeah.
We'll never run out of new music.
I wonder how many more lawsuits we're gonna have until we get obliterated by an asteroid.
Hopefully comes sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say earlier, in relation to what Blue said about At the Speed of Light, what do you think of when you listen to Surface? Because I'm intrigued about that.
Reese's Puff cereal.
I think I get that. You're talking about the mashup, right?
Mm-hmm. I can't
somebody made a mashup
of Reese's Puff cereal.
Didn't Found My Ball make that? No, it might have been someone else.
Maybe. I can't remember. It wasn't Zanny, because Zanny doesn't make remixes that good.
I think it was Found.
It must have been.
Oh, dude, I could listen to that all day. No, but I want to backtrack back to your origins on the internet and, you know, making music. If it wasn't for Diablo 2, and the name you had before that, which was Superbane 2, I'm pretty sure. What do you think your name would have been? This is kind of an ambiguous question, but did you have any names before that you are able to share without giving too much away?
No, so Superbane 2 came after Dimrain47, and Superbane 2 was actually just a name that I used for my email address. Because Dimrain was taken.
Yeah.
Like back in the day when people still used Yahoo as their email provider.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's impossible to tell what I would have done if it weren't Dimrain, right? Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, but I've told that story on HJFod's video, but Dimrain47, just so for people who haven't seen that video or are curious, the opening screen for Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction inspired the name Dim and Rain together. And I added the 47 because I was in an ROTC type program, because I, way back in the day, wanted to go into the Navy.
Interesting.
I wanted to go into the Navy, so I was in like an ROTC program to try to get like a little bit of experience, so that I could, go to officer school straight out of high school and go fly jets off of aircraft carriers. That's what I thought at the time I wanted to do. And the ROTC squadron number was 47, squadron number 47. So that's the number I decided to tack onto the end of my name. So that's where that
Interesting.
came from.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
What
But
made
what
you
was your
kind of change your
reaction,
mind on that then?
Change my mind on the Navy thing.
Yeah.
It's a funny story. So I actually went to the Navy Academy summer seminar, which is like a week-long version of abbreviated Navy boot camp in between my junior and senior year of high school. And this is like, if you're serious about trying to get into the academy, you go to this the year before you would actually do it, right? But it's before your senior year. And it's like a taste of what it's like. You sleep in the dorms, you eat in the chow hall with like the real Navy cadets, you ride on their, like dinghy boats, you do all these Navy boot camp type stuff. They bust into your room at like 5 a.m. with like shower curtain rods, and they just clang them on the floor. And they just make your life a living hell. It's, it's to prepare you for what you're about to get yourself into. Right.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's a filter, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's also to kind of hype you up because, it was a great experience. I'm not going to lie. It was awesome. But on the last day, there was like a social mixer the day before we all went home. And I knew there was a grand piano kind of in the smoke hall on the Maryland Navy campus, which was like this big hall underneath the chow hall. And I snuck out of the social mixer because like I'm kind of an awkward dude and I didn't want to hang out with these people. So I snuck out of there and I went to the smoke hall and I started playing the piano. And this is a hall that's underground. So there were no windows and I couldn't really see how dark it was getting. And I was completely irresponsible about the whole thing. And I was just sitting there playing piano for God, who knows how long, maybe 2 hours. And then I hear like these footsteps like pounding down the stairs to the smoke hall. And it's like one of the staff sergeants. And he sees me and his face just turns bright red. And he just starts unloading on me. Like completely full-faced screaming at me like, where have you been? We have like the military police looking for you. Like you were supposed to be back in your quarters like an hour and a half ago. Like the entire campus, there's a missing persons report out. Like we have people and vehicles looking for your ass right now. So he like grabbed me and took me upstairs. And, in the Navy, like when you're going through like boot camp or this cadet school, the last thing you do before, you go to bed for the night is everyone lines up in the dorm hall and they sing the Navy theme, which is like, it's called like Blue and Gold or something. I don't really remember. I think all branches of the military do this, but everyone was like in their like dress blues, which is it's like a uniform you wear for this song, this ritualistic thing. And I was in like, they brought me up and they stood me in the middle of the hallway and I had my casual clothes on and everyone else was in uniform. Like we're talking hundreds of people, right? And they had me stand in the middle of the hallway while everyone stared at me and sang Blue and Gold. And by the way, everyone knew that I was missing. And it was just the most embarrassing thing ever, right? I was just standing there in my shame. And then they, they released me and they let me go back to my room. And so after that incident, I was like, you know what? I don't think I would make it if I came back here next year to go through like the Navy Academy. These guys are going to remember me. Right. They're going to be like, oh, you're that little shit who snuck up. My life would be a living hell if I had to go to the
you'd
Navy
be the
Academy.
piano guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And back then my last name was different. It was Judd. And so everyone throughout that seminar called me Cadet Judd. And so they were calling me Elton Judd for the rest of the
Oh.
for the rest of the seminar.
Oh
So
my god.
I knew that would
That's
stick.
not the worst though.
It's not the worst. I didn't get reprimanded. Luckily, it was the last day, so like the next day was we just went to the airport and went home. But I knew that I wouldn't survive there if I tried to get into the if I tried to get into officer school. They would have made those 4 years of my life a living hell. Who knows? I don't know. But I was scared off from the entire thing after that.
Damn.
Yeah, so you're just vibing down there playing piano. What were you
Mhm.
playing?
Yeah, so at the time, I was really into contemporary piano music.
Right.
One of my favorite artists is his name's John Schmidt. He writes some really fantastic contemporary standalone piano stuff, and so I was just down there playing John Schmidt music for hours. I think it was for hours. Like I said, I had no idea how much time had passed. But yeah, I was just down there.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
How old was I? I was a junior, about to be a senior in high school. So I think I was 17. Yeah, I think I was 17.
Oh.
Damn. Dude, I can't stop thinking about. I was visualizing that whole thing in my head when you were telling me. And dude, I knew when you said the guy walked down there, I could just feel the stress.
It was
Yeah.
I laugh at it nowadays, obviously, but I was scared shitless when it was happening for sure.
Yeah, I've never dealt with anything.
Yeah,
like
I think
that.
when you're younger, you're definitely like more afraid of that stuff.
I mean, it's also like your reputation matters in those social places. So if something
Yeah.
happens, it's like, well, that's my legacy.
Yeah. I mean, to me now, that'd just be that'd be a funny way to go missing. I feel like there's no harm done there. It's not like it was actually serious.
Well, they
Right,
thought it
but-
was.
Exactly. Like they were spending
Yeah.
resources looking for me when I clearly was in an area I wasn't supposed to be in, and I didn't report back to my dormitory at the time that I was supposed to be there. So it was a big deal. I mean, they had no idea. Like, can you imagine if if a high schooler was, I don't know, kidnapped or killed or something? Like, that would be such a big deal.
Yeah, that would be bad. That happens a lot where I live. And you live
What,
in
missing
university
kids?
towns. Yeah. It sucks.
Yeah.
Not to like be, not to like turn that into that, but reminds me of how bad it is here. Dude, I've almost gotten kidnapped like twice before.
Yeah, I think one of my friends was kidnapped, but he was like a child.
That's bad.
The village got him afterwards, after they got him. That guy did not go well.
Dude, I've dealt with some shit where I live. I almost got carjacked last month at 1:30 in the morning in front of my fucking neighborhood. And like,
Yeah.
keep in mind, the neighborhood where I live is a very safe place. And I used to, in February through like April, I would go to the gym every day at like 1:30 a.m. And it was like a 30-minute drive. And I never saw anything like that until this one day. That dude was literally going to carjack me if I didn't do what I did. I turned my lights off, swerved left because I was still in the neighborhood, and went like 80 miles an hour and then went to the other exit. And the guy was chasing me down the main road. Like, he wanted my car. But that's for another time. I think we should get back on track.
Back at
Let's see what else we got. We have a lot of stuff still. Let's see what we got. I'm shocked by that fucking Navy story. Not expect that. So
for some reason, there's a lot of questions in the chat about Skibidi Toilet, and so first of all,
Oh, don't even.
I have a 6-year-old son who loves Skibidi Toilet. Okay, and
Oh,
I
yeah,
I
as well,
absolutely
yeah.
cannot stand Skibidi. I don't understand why a toilet is like this viral meme. I don't know. I feel so old.
Yeah,
when
I
see
don't
a
know
lot
why
of
they-
this stuff.
They
Yeah.
always find like anything related to a toilet they just find to be the funniest thing ever, and I don't get it. Like my cousin would just like there'd be a joke and it would just be about like someone farted and he would just lose it. I don't get it.
Sure. And I don't know what At the Speed of Light has to do with Skibidi Toilet. I mean, do you guys know? But I get this
I don't think it has anything to do
I have
with it.
no idea.
I
Okay.
wouldn't know.
I mean, dude, you know what me and my sister used to do when we were really little? We had a rivalry, and so we would just flush things down the toilet.
Who could flush the biggest thing?
I flushed a whole banana peel down the toilet one time. Because because back then, when you're really young, you don't know what the fuck plumbing is. Like you just see the water of hole. You see the hole.
Yeah, it just disappears.
With the water in it in the toilet, and all you know, like it just it's gone.
It disappears.
Yeah. Dude. Oh my god, I flushed so much crap down the toilet.
You're supposed to flush crap down the toilet.
At Soul mashup. Oh no. Yeah, I would never want to listen to that.
There's a Skibidi Toilet mashup with your music.
I wouldn't even do yourself the misdeed of listening to that. I think that caused more harm than goods.
You once flushed an entire bowl's worth of cereal down the toilet.
It better not have been Reese's Puffs.
No, it was probably like Raisin Bran or something. That deserved it.
Now you've been there when you've woken up and you're like, I don't feel hungry, but my parents say I have to have it. So
that's the worst when you get Raisin Bran.
No.
And somebody brings back cereal when you were little.
Bran flakes and cornflakes. Those are the days.
Dude, one time, I think I've mentioned this on the podcast, but I accidentally, sometimes I would just play with Legos in the bathroom. And one time, I had this Lego Indiana Jones set that came with a Lego frying pan, and I dropped it down the sink. And it was gone. So, yeah, I mean, I could go on for that forever. But
yeah,
we should probably go back to music and stuff like that because I still have more music questions.
Anomaly GMD, have you ever had a point in your life when you wanted to quit music? I've quit twice. There was a 4-year gap between the latest song at the time, which I think was Buzztone Symphony, and At the Speed of Light. There was a 4-year gap there, and that was because I was focusing on live music with the local bands that I was playing with. And then I put out those 3 songs, At the Speed of Light, Duality, and The Falling Mists. And yeah, I haven't put out anything since, right? So I guess I haven't quit, quote unquote, music. I still am an appreciator. I play music with my kids. We have instruments around the house, and I still write music like on my piano.
Yeah.
All right.
But have you ever had a point in your life where you wanted to quit? I mean, with just like any art, once you start to get criticism, it kills it for you. Like you have to have some pretty thick skin for a lot of the shit that people are willing to say to you over the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially when you're pouring like your heart and soul into like a creative project and you put it up and it's open for everyone to see, and you know, people can be relentless. So that's definitely something most artists
That's what a lot of people say, like, don't read the comments.
Oh yeah, even just with doing YouTube, it's like you can get a lot of negative comments, like especially on Twitter. Like, don't go near Twitter. But you have to just completely be able to tune all of that out if you're gonna really just survive and keep going with it.
I think if you can tell when people are actually just trying to be helpful and care about seeing the final product as something that they generally would want to see as being better versus people just not giving a shit and just, you know, not being helpful.
Yeah, people try and get personal over stuff is like,
I mean, dude,
happens too much.
One of my least favorite things in the modern internet is people who virtue signal. Dude, I fucking hate that shit.
That's just how it is.
It's just people that want to be self-righteous all the time and be seen as like perfect people. When in reality, like, everyone is flawed in some way.
That's just inherent in social media, though. Like, I feel like people always go do that so they can seem.
I
It's
mean,
inherent in
yeah.
humanity.
Yeah,
People
I mean,
have always been like that.
It's just playing to
Yeah.
the side that's winning, basically.
yeah, I mean, most people have dignity and shame. Like, I feel like,
You'd be surprised.
yeah, you're right. I mean,
The internet removes a lot of those filters,
Yeah.
obviously.
yeah, I don't know how much different music criticism is from other forms of criticism online, like videos and other general art forms. I guess videos is just, visual art, just moving pictures. But
I think
yeah, I mean,
music can
some
be some of the
criticism can be
harshest
rough.
I've seen. Like, for what I've done in like photography, if you take a bad picture, right, like nothing bad happens. Like, people just don't say anything. If you're a famous musician and you make bad music, oh my god, that is like the end. Everyone hates you.
Why do you feel like I haven't put out any music recently?
Do you feel like you have a standard that you have to live up to? Is that what it is? Or is it just like you're not feeling creative?
So here's the thing, right? When I stopped making music back in 2012, it was it came down to time constraints, right?
Yeah.
I went to college. I started a family. Nowadays, a lot of those constraints are kind of lifted. Like, I have a steady job. My kids are grown up a little bit. Like, they're not, they're not newborn babies that require constant attention.
Yeah.
I have money now that I didn't have back then. But here's the thing. The standard for music production is so much higher than it was back when I was making music over 10 years ago. It's actually kind of daunting. Like, just thinking about it, like, oh my God, I would need to basically relearn everything from the bottom up. Just the tools are all better now. All of the mixing and mastering methods have gotten better. Granted, YouTube and other sources are around, so it's easier to learn those things. But it's just like, I can't imagine trying to, try to live up to where the standard is nowadays, because even back when I was putting music out, it was below average production quality. And so I would have to make up so much ground to make something presentable. I would have to start over, like, from square zero, basically. I feel like I have the creative part of it down. Like, oh, how do you write a song? How do you make an intro? Like, what's a chorus? Like, that's not the part that is daunting for me. It's the music production part and using all the tools and getting an industry standard sound. That's the hard part. And it would just, I think, it would take a lot of time on my end, I think, to get this done and to come out with some modern music.
Yeah, I get you.
I think in terms of just what you made previously kind of nailed what people are looking for, at least in our community. So I don't think there'd be much pressure on like being with the newest techniques, but obviously there's a self standard you're setting as well, which I get.
It's all cognitive.
But I think you're in a position where people will be like very grateful for just anything, basically, even if it's to the standard of like what you're doing. What is it, 12 years ago now? Like, people would be all over that.
I hear
Maybe
that.
that- yeah.
I get this question, like, at the speed of light too, when?
Yeah.
And I talked about this a little bit with HJFod as well. Like, I don't think, even if I were to get, back in the saddle and try to do this, I don't know if I would make an At the Speed of Light 2, because
No.
like, think about how many sequels to movies that you've seen that are total dog shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No.
And I'd rather have something come out and just be a shit song and have that be the end. But if I have something come out that's supposed to be the sequel for my most successful song by far, and it doesn't live up to it, I mean, that does more harm than good. I feel like, as far as your relationship with your listeners, right? And their expectations for you going forward.
I feel like the longer the time is in between it, the higher up the hype is going to be, and the higher the expectation. That was
when people say that,
for 2.2.
If you said that like now, yo, I'm gonna make at the speed of like 2 people, but yo, he's been making this for 12 years.
It's gonna be so lit. He's been working on it for 12 years.
No, yeah, you've actually been hiding it the whole time.
You're
just waiting to drop it.
Yeah,
there's like a Kanye feature. It's crazy.
You're gonna drop on April 7th in honor of 47.
That's a good idea. I'll drop it April 7th in the year 2047. That sounds good.
Yep.
Oh yeah. At 4 no, it doesn't work. At 4:17 p.m. No, at 12:47 a.m. Yeah, so it'd be 0047 military time.
That sounds like a plan.
That's the move right there. I actually wonder. So obviously, I'm willing to bet you have a shitload of unfinished stuff, and I wonder, are you ever going to make a video at some point, whether it's unlisted on a playlist or on Twitter or anything? Are you ever going to make a video just going through all of your unfinished songs?
I've thought about it. So here's the thing.
That'd be cool.
There is a lot, and some of them are like 90% done. I just never finished. Yeah, I just never finished them. So I have a PC hard drive sitting in my garage with, you're not going to find anything. I have a song called Unfinished. Unfinished Trance is the name of a song, but I don't have any like unfinished videos or anything. But I have a hard drive in my garage with all of that stuff. And I have thought about, like, what if I go grab that and do exactly what you mentioned, like just kind of make a compilation of all the musical ideas that just never came to be. I think that fans would
people would love that, honestly.
I think so too. I mean, I'd be surprised if the damn thing even fired up. Like, I don't even know if I can get that data. It's been sitting idle for...
Is it like that paper cable SATA? Is the hard drive that old where it's like the floppy, not floppy disk, but like the connectors, that weird paper-like material?
No.
Is that old? Is it that old?
It's just an old-ass drive, probably.
It's just like a SATA hard drive?
It's just a drive from, early 2010s. It's
okay, yeah.
It would probably start up if I tried it.
Yeah, to a lot of GD people, that's like the golden hard drive. Even if it didn't work, I guarantee you someone would be like, "Yo, pay for data recovery."
You're actually in luck because hard drives never, disappear
unless you drop them.
Data-wise. Like if it just sits in your garage forever, the data's never going to get wiped. SSDs are different though, because like the data has to be circulated at some point after it's sitting for long enough, or it just wipes itself. So. Good on you for having a hard drive, but I mean, it's not intentional, right? It's just good luck.
Yeah, back then SSDs weren't really a thing.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I would back that up at some point. Maybe that's going to give you an idea to have a day to just back it all up.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be sick, seeing all your unfinished ideas. Like,
could do a live stream.
People would. I would really appreciate that, and I'm sure a lot of people would as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of artists that live stream just going through their folders and just giving their live thoughts. Like people like Home did that, just going through stuff, and half the time they're just like, "Oh, what the hell? Why did I use those drums? Oh, those are so," or like, "This sounds so muddy." And it also just shows your progression as an artist at the same time. It's super cool.
Sure, I get that. So I mean, like I kind of mentioned earlier, when I was first putting music out, I was using the demo version of FL Studio, in which you couldn't save your project. You could I think you had access to just about everything in the software, but you couldn't save. So you could export. So what I would do is I would be writing Dimrain songs, and I would just have to not close FL Studio, and I would just leave my computer on for days.
Oh yeah.
While I was working.
Power goes out.
Power goes out, song's gone.
Has that ever happened?
No.
Oh, thank
God.
Wow.
That never happened. But so I would export the song, right? And it would be bounced down to MP3 or whatever I decided to export it to. And then if I wanted to start a new project, those song files were gone because I was using the demo version. And so what actually ended up happening is I would bounce down a lot of these songs, and for whatever reason, I wouldn't post them. And so like I might make like a CD or something with all of my songs on it.
Mm-hmm. You just sell it.
Well, I would make the CD, and it would end up getting packed up in a box. And then I would buy a new computer, and those songs wouldn't come, I wouldn't transfer everything over. So there's a lot of Dimrain songs that are done, but they're just like, they're on a CD somewhere, maybe in my parents' garage, maybe in my garage, like, and there's no song files for them. They're just like, it's just a single MP3 sitting on a disc somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's actually where the disturbance came from. Like I uploaded the disturbance in 2019. It was one of those songs where I made it in 2006, I think.
Jeez.
And my mom actually, she's like, "Hey, I found a disc. I think it has Dimrain music on it, and I found this song on that disc, and I uploaded it." But it was a long lost, track up until 2019 for 13 years.
Really?
It was just, yeah. And
do you have any
like this?
Do you have any songs that were like undisputed masterpieces that you lost, or anything really important that you lost and could never be released?
No, no, there's nothing that, also this was so long ago, like maybe there might be something on a disc somewhere or a flash drive somewhere sitting in storage that might have something cool on it. I really don't know. A lot of this stuff, I made it so long ago, it's hard to remember.
Yeah, I don't have that much music. I've made some, but I am very amateur. I bought Baby's first plugin was Arturia Mini V2, which is a synthesizer that replicates the sound of the Moog synth, if you know what that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is like that iconic sound. And I just make that kind of music. But yeah, pretty interesting. I was going to ask about something, but I forgot what it was, so let me remember again. Let's see what else we have. Oh, yeah. How long does it actually take to make a song for you? Like, does it vary heavily, or is it usually pretty consistent?
So in the beginning, if you look at the release date of like my first, 10 tracks, I was putting these tracks out pretty frequently. So I think between my first 3 tracks, Midnight Siege, Twilight Techno, and In Dream, I think those were posted days apart. Maybe even like a day apart. I can't really remember. You'd have to fact check me on that. But once it got up to, especially my later tracks, like At the Speed of Light, are we talking hours? Are we talking like working days?
I don't know,
or
just
sittings?
generally, like,
yeah,
general time in between.
It definitely started taking longer as they started to become more complex.
Mm-hmm.
I would say in the beginning, it would take me maybe 4 sittings, like 4 nights, maybe. Yeah. Or if I was home all day, if it was a weekend day, I could probably crank out a song in like a weekend. But then again, there wasn't a whole lot of production quality. Like there wasn't mixing and mastering and all of this stuff going on. Right. It was just me composing the music. there was no synthesis. There was none of that.
Did you ever mess around with like parametric EQs or anything, or it was just raw music?
Oh, towards the end, yeah, in the 2012 era, for sure. I mean, I tried a little bit harder. I used EQ and compression. Like, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was trying to learn how to become a better producer. And so I started using. I mean, EQ is a very standard tool.
Oh yeah, I did it too.
I mean, you have to. I mean, it's like I said. There's a standard. And EQ is part of it, unless you're trying to go for some sort of live sound or Celtic music where it's completely unfiltered or whatever. But
yeah, a lot of plugins have options to. There's an Ableton plugin. I forget what it's called. It's called like. It's some human-based name, but it makes it so that the notes sound more realistic and like just there's slight inconsistencies with the chord to make it seem like you're playing it. I forget what it's called.
Yeah, I mean,
someone will know.
I'm not sure what it's called, but yeah, I mean, you vary the timing of notes. It's basically creating small imperfections.
Yeah, it makes it
in
seem
the
more
chord or melody to make it to humanize it for sure.
Yeah. I think I love humanity in songs. That's for sure. Some songs sound like they're made by aliens.
Yeah, I think everything has to have imperfections to be like good. This is completely unrelated, but like when they're making Swiss cheese, they ended up making it so clean it lost its bubbles because the bubbles were from like micro pieces of hay. So they had to start adding that back in. It literally applies to everything.
That's funny. But yeah, I mean, like, dude, imagine showing a Victorian child Skrillex. Same shit, same idea.
I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that when you said all good music was written by dead people with wigs. I'm like, can you imagine if you brought dubstep
melodies?
Back?
Yeah, like imagine showing Isaac Newton like a Moog synthesizer. He'd be like, everything I know is wrong.
You would be burned at the stake for being a witch, for sure.
Yeah, literally.
Oh yeah, the church should come after you.
I'd be producing in Salem while that's going on, and I'd get hung for it. Literally, I mean,
you just go to rural Africa in like
isn't that crazy?
100
like
AD with an 808.
My friend has a joke where it's like, dude, we've managed to synthesize sound. Like, fuck the light bulb, dude. Sound, synthesized sound. Did you know, Dimrain? Did you know that mushrooms can make sound if you poke them with these sticks that you can connect to a synth board? It actually carries a sound over, which is like the mushroom being in pain, or it's like, something like that. It's like a bioreaction, and it actually carries a sound frequency when it's releasing this receptor, when it's poked with this thing, and you can actually make music out of mushrooms.
We can sample mushroom pain.
Yeah.
That's
real. It's so cool.
Imagine it's like sampling real human screams.
I don't like that at all.
It sounds
cool. What about like mushroom happiness?
I'll have to find it.
I guess that's a different thing.
I'll have to find the video. It is the weirdest shit. Yeah, dude, there's an instrument called the it's like this just look at this. Yeah, changes in bioelectricity trigger note changes in the synthesizer. Isn't that so weird?
It's definitely interesting.
I gotta love it.
Knowing mushrooms sound like that, I can never take them seriously again.
Yeah, they're kind of goofy. I mean, look, honestly, if we're gonna talk about food, I don't like mushrooms, so you can eat all of them.
No, I like the flavor, but not like the actual mushroom.
Dimrain, do you have any hot food takes?
Hot food takes? Yeah. I mean, I grew up as a pretty picky child. There's a lot of foods that I know I should try again, but I just can't get over almost like the nostalgic feeling of hating certain foods. Like, like I hate pickles. Like, to the smell of them, I almost can't even look at them because I hate them so much. But my family loves them.
Fair.
If only they weren't green.
What color do you want them to be? Purple? I feel like green's a normal color.
I said that because Dimrain's art is green.
Yeah.
I know people who don't like pickles. I think the weirdest one we got is probably Trick. He said he likes mustard on pizza.
No.
I thought that was pretty
all
odd.
Sorts of crazy shit on pizza.
That's like a pregnancy craving level thing.
Sounds like I actually used to work. For about 2 years there in college. I actually worked as a delivery driver for Domino's Pizza, and we got some of the craziest requests. I had a dude come in with a jar of peanuts and ask us to put the peanuts on his pizza before putting it into the oven.
What? Were they like in the shells, or were they?
No,
prepared?
they were like prepared, like
they're
planters
ready.
peanuts.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's odd. Can you make my Italian food a little Thai, please, and put peanuts on it?
He was like, dude,
pizza.
Once you try peanuts on pizza, you'll never go back. And obviously, I thought it was crazy, and I haven't tried it, but it was one of the more odd requests.
That sounds odd. Who wants, like, peanuts already get a little stuck in your throat and your teeth. Imagine that with pizza.
Oh no. To be fair, peanut butter on sandwiches works, and that's. I wouldn't have it with
PB&Js are
tomato.
a classic, but that's not pizza.
We're talking peanuts with cheese and red sauce.
Well, you gotta remember, Finn is also British, so he eats like malnourished food.
What do you mean? No, I said I ate like tuna pasta once, and people were freaking out. That's like a good meal. Beans on toast.
You would eat cat food.
No, beans on. I say beans on toast, and people get like actually.
You know what's also funny? Your country literally conquered everyone else and all the spices, and you don't even use any of them in your food.
Well, I'd say the average Brit, yeah. Like at university, I've seen people cook pasta like no salt and put like tomato sauce on top of it and just like ketchup on top of it and just eat it.
Dimrain, what do you think about pineapple on pizza? People lose their fucking minds over it, and it's fine.
I love pineapple on pizza. My favorite pizza is pepperoni pineapple. Yeah, I love pineapple.
I haven't had it in a while, but I just avoid it because of the stigma around it.
Dude, I just fucking eat it.
Yeah, someone's talking about ranch on pizza. Ranch on pizza is one of my favorite things ever.
That sounds good.
It's delicious.
You know what I didn't like for a long time? I didn't like sour cream for the longest time, but like then I just grew to really. It's fucking good, dude.
You know, I can't have aubergine. That stuff's not happening.
Yeah, people freak out too much about pineapple on pizza. That's for sure. All right, we kind of got sidetracked.
Yeah.
We don't have that much material left. Might as well go to the 2-hour mark. We have 7 minutes, and then I got to get out of here. I want to do stuff today. Did you know that my town has an annual event downtown on the weekend? It only happens once a year, and it's happening right now.
What
and
kind
I'm like,
of event?
Fuck. Because I got a text from someone that was like, yo, are you coming to, I'm like, but it'll be going tomorrow, so we'll be fine.
Yeah.
So sorry, we got sidetracked. I want to go back to music again and just about melodies and stuff. I want to know, what's the longest melody that took you to get right? The longest time you sat down to where like the longest it took you to get that melody, that chord, and it's like that's the one.
It's an interesting question. I actually think writing harmonies is harder than writing melody. I would spend a lot of time trying to find the perfect harmony for a melody that I already have written. For some reason, that's harder for me. So, for example, At the Speed of Light has plenty of this going on. There's like a fast lead that's running 16th notes, and you can hear harmonies of that lead. Kind of, it's lower volume than the lead, and it's maybe panned out to the side a little bit.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And finding the right notes for the harmony, sometimes I can hear it in my head, but it takes me forever to nail down exactly where that note placement is. And I don't know if that's just me, but I think harmonizing, getting a perfect harmony for like especially a really fast notey part, it's really it almost feels like work. It's like a chore. It's something I usually avoid until the very end, where I'm like, okay, I've done everything else. I finally should probably get around to writing this harmony that I've been putting off forever.
A lot of artists just randomly place notes all over the place and then just move them around. That method works for a lot of people I've seen.
Or just spray and pray.
Yeah, like so it's kind of like throwing stuff at the wall until something sticks. So what they'll do is they'll, in Ableton at least, they'll just throw notes onto a pattern, play it, and then just move certain notes around until they have something that they like.
Sure.
Yeah,
that works for some people.
You know, I don't fully understand music theory, but I feel like, music theory, my interpretation is that it has to do with conventional production. I'm not sure if that's right, but yeah.
I'm not sure what you mean. You probably mean like conventional music rules, like counterpoint.
Yeah, like having the melody, having this. That's what I'm guessing music theory is.
I mean, you can look up the definition of music theory, but music theory just means, do you understand? It's kind of a two-pronged thing. It's tonality, which is like Western tonality has 12 different semitones that you can use to build chords and melodies. And then the second prong of music theory is understanding rhythm and how to essentially subdivide your consistent beat into faster notes, which are, shorter notes, and understanding time signatures. So it's kind of those two different prongs, but there is a lot of great material on YouTube for understanding. Like, I want to learn music theory. Where do I start? There's a couple of content creators around music theory that do a really great job at explaining it simply.
I think I'm just too dumb for that. Like, I think I just throw shit together, and if I like the way it sounds, I roll with it.
That's how I started, to be honest. I started clicking notes on the piano roll in FL Studio and just looping a section and moving the notes that didn't sound right. Everything was by ear.
Right.
I would put a key change into the song, not even knowing what a key change was, just because I've heard other people do this and I finally figured out how to do it. You grab the whole note selection and you just drag it up or drag it down. That's a key. And I didn't know what the key change was theoretically, but I just knew that it sounded cool. So I would put it in my songs. Right.
Do you think it's more fun not even knowing what you don't know, like being at that stage?
Yeah, it's definitely like kind of an adventure. And a lot of people say this too, and I'll confirm, like, once I actually went through school and went to music school and really studied music in an educational setting, it almost restricts your creativity a little bit because, like you said, you learn all of these rules. It's like, here are these rules. This is how a chord progression works. Historically, this is how chord progressions have been used. You study the music that all those dead guys wrote hundreds of years ago and what their idea of tonality and rhythm was. And it almost boxes you in and kind of conditions you to start using those rules. When in reality, you should just be using this knowledge to define tools for composition, but you shouldn't feel like you have to use them. But when I went through music school, I almost felt like I had to use them because that's what I was taught. Do you know what I mean? So when I start, if I was to sit down and write something, I'm already thinking about the progression in my head. I'm already thinking about this song as a whole. under this new scope of knowing music theory and modulating key signatures and all of this stuff, rather than sitting down and just clicking notes onto a MIDI, a piano roll, and creating something completely organic. Maybe it breaks the rules, but it sounds cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like I lost a lot of that when I went through institutionalized music programs.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm imagining you like making a piece and then being like, oh, well, I can't do that because it's,
It's not in the key signature. I
Yeah.
can't use that note.
Yeah.
Huh.
When in reality, it's like, dude, if it sounds good, like,
Yeah, I think the
You
same
can
thing
break the
happens
rules.
in Geometry Dash, where people making levels now look at older levels to see what they're meant to be doing, and no one comes up with things that are original nearly as often now.
I guess club step monsters are an example of that.
Yeah.
Like a reoccurring theme. I actually did want to ask you, so as far as I can understand, you have been a music teacher in the past, correct?
I was a piano teacher for 13 years.
How was that? Because I don't personally know anybody who's a teacher who hasn't taught me. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, it was really rewarding. I worked with kids primarily.
Right.
So I was a private piano teacher, and I would teach one-on-one lessons with students at their homes. So I would kind of drive from one client's house to another. And you get those kids that their parents are like, you're going to play piano now.
Yeah.
So sit down and shut up, and you're going to like this. And those lessons obviously weren't very much fun. It was more like babysitting.
Yeah.
Like when there's no passion. But, I had several students that were very, very passionate, and very creative and very, very good. So those students it was very rewarding to teach those students and to kind of help pass my own knowledge on to this kid that just has nothing but love for the art. So I do kind of miss that part of it. I don't miss the babysitting part.
No.
I showed up to a lesson once, and the piano was covered in Cheeto powder. Like the kids were eating Cheetos
What?
over the piano, and I had to spend probably a good 15 minutes cleaning this keyboard of all the Cheeto powder. So I mean, like there's just some times where it's like, man, there's no respect. There's no respect here.
Yeah.
And
That'd be frustrating almost.
I got all flavors of students. I got everything from, the brat child who's just need a babysitter to I had a couple of students where they could outplay me. Like,
Damn.
well, because I had a couple that were just so good. Like they could outplay me. I was scratching my head trying to figure out what I could teach this kid. Like, what else can I teach him that I don't already know? He's already better than me at this point.
all you're thinking is like, bro, you got to go to LA right now. You got to go.
Yeah,
you got to go right now.
So I do miss a lot of those connections, and a lot of the teacher pupil relationship. But I mean, I don't miss the pay, man. It was like teachers do not make very good money.
Yeah, that sucks, man.
Especially working for yourself. Like when summer comes around, half of my students or more would be like, "See ya, I'll see ya in August when school starts," and there goes more than half my income. Because they quit for 3 months or they take a 2-week break because of Christmas. It's like I don't get paid for 2 weeks. So I don't miss that part of it for sure.
Are there any students that you taught that have like made it as an artist? If you know, probably impossible to know, right?
So I don't really keep in touch with a lot of them. I stopped teaching right before COVID hit. In end of 2019, early 2020. I gave my last piano lesson in February of 2020.
It was like right before shit hit the fan.
I got super lucky. I ended up getting another job right as COVID was hitting. I would have been totally screwed. Like when COVID hit, I would have lost all income. I would have had to DoorDash like 80 hours a week, you know?
God, don't even
Bam.
make me think of that.
Oh.
I don't keep in touch with my students, so but I don't think so. I mean, most of these were kids, right? And they're not going to college for music, right? That's not their goal in life is to become this gnarly musician. It was just something that they love to do in the meantime, you know?
Yeah.
Through high school or something.
Yeah. I mean, dude, a lot of artists just channel their inner demons into their music. And dude, the final product ends up being unfucking believable because of it. Like,
emotion, like personal experience and personal emotion is definitely a really powerful tool for art. Someone's asking if I quit because of COVID. No, I actually ended up getting a job at the perfect time.
Lucky.
I had just finished my my college degree. I went to college twice, by the way. I don't think we have time to talk about all that, but I finished my college degree, ended up getting a degree in computer science right around the middle of 2019, and finally got a job in technology early 2020, and I just couldn't have planned it any better. Like, COVID was hitting.
Yeah, everything went kind of online.
Yeah, right.
It was fun for me, but yeah.
So I just got super
I loved
lucky.
it, man.
Yeah.
Did you?
We were in school still.
Oh, I was the kid that doesn't talk to anyone. So I'm like, you're telling me I have 50 weeks off school?
You didn't.
Well, it was fun for the first like month, and then it's like,
oh yeah, I did
okay,
stuff
this
online.
is...
But I wouldn't be where I am today as well without COVID, because that's when I started doing like YouTube stuff, and then all of that happened. I'm where I am today, and it's like my life is a lot better because of that and all of that happening. So
I mean,
it's hard to know what it would have been like otherwise. Is the thing.
I mean, yeah, man. I know people who very, very graciously benefited from COVID financially, and I also know a lot of people who got fucked financially because of it. Because it took down a lot of small businesses.
Oh yeah, businesses suffered for sure.
Oh yeah, I know. I have a different perspective though, because I was like 15 during COVID, so
I was 17.
Yeah.
I mean, dude,
a different angle.
I can remember actually sitting in math class in like early April, or no, early March. And I remember there were just rumors being like, because no one knew what the fuck was happening yet. All we knew was that there was a virus. And I can remember the math teacher being like, oh yeah, you might get like 2 weeks off. That's the last time I ever stepped foot in that school. Literally. Because I was a senior. I was fucking out of it. We had a goddamn virtual graduation. I mean, dude, if there's one thing COVID did that saved me, dude, I am notoriously bad at math. I failed Algebra 2 when I was 16. And I have never cheated on anything in school, ever. Until the end, when COVID was already just, not even the worst it was at yet. And we were just doing online classes. Because I had a mountain of math homework. And it was COVID, and we were staying home all day. No responsibilities, no job, didn't have to get a job yet, couldn't go outside. So it was like, I just wanted to play video games all day, And so it got to a point where I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to cheat. And so I cheated so hard at the end of math. And like, the teachers didn't, I don't know why the teachers, I guess they were already stressed enough about COVID and all this crap. They just turned a blind eye to it, because I had people who would watch over me, virtually, to make sure I was actually learning the material. And then when they saw that I was suddenly just getting 190 on everything and just doing it in like a week, they didn't say shit. I don't know why. I don't know why they didn't be like, are you cheating? Like, what's going on? They didn't say anything. And so then I just cheated the rest of my fucking work, and that was it. And I graduated because I cheated. So it was only math. Only math.
It was like we're coming into the big exams you do at the end of what's year 11 over here, the GCSEs. And basically, I was shaking myself because I am not good at studying or revising stuff. And I had not started doing any of that. And the exams are in like a few months. I was like, shit, this is not going to go well. Basically, when COVID hit, schools were like, yeah, we're not going to do the exams. You'll just get your predicted grade, which for me was actually quite good. There was no way I ever would have made it, but I ended up getting that. That was chill. But then 2 years later, I had to do even bigger exams that are for university, and those didn't go as well because I actually had to sit them. But it was so nice just getting like all your grades for free.
You know what it was also funny because of COVID? I
What?
never had to take pre-calc.
What is that?
Pre-calculus. Which is like, like baby calculus.
Oh,
Everyone I knew in high school took it, and for some reason, I just didn't have to. I guess it was
like,
because of what was happening with COVID, and I just flew through algebra 2 because I was cheating. But, yeah, I mean, dude, cheating now versus when you were in school, Dimrain, it's so different now. Now it's like harder, I feel like. Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe that's wrong. We have the internet. What are we talking about?
It was pretty damn easy. I mean, when I went back to college for the second time, for my degree in computer science, there was rampant cheating in the CS department.
Yeah.
I'm talking about there was a GitHub repo with the previous semester's final exam on it. So, and this was widely distributed between students in the class. And the teachers didn't really care about changing the test, you know? They basically just reused the test from the previous year. So, I mean, it was really easy. I mean, especially for technology students. Like, technology students are going to be the best cheaters because they understand technology so well. They're going to use their skills that you're teaching them in college to cheat.
Yeah. I think in computer science, cheating is like, okay, fine. I mean, you're not going to go forward if you actually don't have any idea what you're doing anyway. But I wouldn't want to have like surgery from a doctor who cheated on his finals. That's where I'd be like, okay, maybe I don't want this person to cheat.
Yeah, that's why doctors are paid so much. It's because
Yeah.
It's so much more important. But to be honest, I probably use less than 10% of what I learned in college in my actual job.
Yeah, I mean, dude, another day has passed without me having to use y equals mx plus b, so...
Yeah. I think a lot of it is just showing that you can pull through with like work.
Yeah.
It's on the
which is great for me because I have not finished university. But
well, aren't classes always teach because of the what if? You know, like that's why you do all those classes in college too, in high school. It's like, this is in case you are interested in it, and if you are, well, you're learning it.
It's stuff that if it's stuff you didn't start learning when you were young, you're just kind of fucked if you try to learn it from scratch when you're older.
Well, you also change when you're older.
It's funny that you said you don't use y equals mx plus b, because algebra is probably the most applicable field of math on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, dude, I just don't have the math gene. I just don't. I actually feel like a primate when I'm around people who are really intelligent in mathematics. Like, I have friends who are majoring in math. I have multiple friends who are majoring in math, and they'll show me like calculus visual videos, and I'll just be like, dude, I don't know what is happening. I just don't have the gene, man.
I think there's the difference. I mean, there's a pretty big difference between being proficient in a life skill like algebra and understanding advanced calculus. You know, like
you don't
need to know calculus. Yeah.
I mean, like, dude,
No.
solving for unknowns and stuff like that, that's a life skill.
Oh yeah.
Like, if you have this, how do you get this? I mean,
Can I afford to pay rent this month?
Exactly.
You're going to use algebra to figure that out.
Going to use all your knowledge of negative numbers for that one.
I mean, you're very right. Yeah, I guess it was, maybe it was just the way they were teaching it was a struggle for me, because we know now that people learn very differently. And it just depends on the person who's learning the material. And some
As
people
well as
learn better with
the
visuals.
instructor.
Some people
People are
learn more
predisposed to
practically,
different things.
and some people learn better when it's just on paper, just written.
I don't think it's more like things are better taught in certain ways. Like if you're trying to teach art out of like a textbook with no pictures, that's not going to happen. The same way if you like try to teach math with art or like pictures, it's not really going to work.
How do you learn, Dimrain?
You know, I've heard that people say they learn the best a certain way. Like I'm a visual learner, or I'm a hands-on learner, or I like to read. Like I learn best by reading a description, you know. And I've also seen if you go to YouTube and you look at like learning methods debunked, you'll actually see that this has been studied and debunked. Like people think that they have a learning style, but actually people learn in all ways. And I forget who said it, but I think it depends on the material.
I was thinking
you were saying that, but so for me, I mentioned, I thought we weren't going to have time. I'm not sure if we have to cut this off.
We can go for a little bit more if you want. I mean, we're pretty much done with the material. We're just talking now.
Sure. So I went to college twice. I went to college right out of high school, and I went in to get a computer science degree. This was in 2006. And I dropped out. But I came back in 2016, 10 years later, and fucking breezed through the computer science curriculum.
Yeah.
It was so bad that I knew more than the teachers, and I was correcting them in the middle of class on certain things.
Jesus.
So some teachers loved me, and some of the instructors just absolutely despised me because I would correct them. Like a student would ask a question and the teacher would give an incomplete or incorrect answer sometimes. And I would correct them because it's like, you're giving this person who's paying good money false information, and they're trying to ask a question to understand the subject, and you're not like, I would correct them in class, because if it were me asking the question, I would want someone to do the same thing. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely.
But the reason for this difference the first time, and when I went back to college to finish the degree, was I was more serious about learning. Right out of high school, I was so burnt out.
Yeah.
I didn't care about my education, right? I didn't care about my future, really. All I knew is that after high school, you go to college. It's just what everyone tells you to do.
Yep.
But I didn't feel like I wasn't motivated to go to college and learn for myself, for my own well-being, for my own self-growth. So I dropped out because of a lack of motivation, and because of burnout, and because of I had no direction. I had no direction in life. I had no reason to go to college, graduate, and get a good job. Like, I was supported by my family. I didn't have kids of my own. I just didn't have the fire lit under me to feel like this is something I need to do. It's something I can't just not do. And so I quit the first time.
Yeah.
I was also failed. My last semester, the first time around in like 2007, I straight up failed like almost all of my classes because I was completely addicted to World of Warcraft. Okay. 2007, the first expansion just came out. I would literally pull all-nighters playing World of Warcraft. Like hardcore rating, complete World of Warcraft nerd, right? and I just failed out of every single class that semester. And so I'm like, well, I'm not going to class. I'm not passing anyway. Why am I still doing this? And so I just completely dropped out. And it wasn't until 10 years later when I had that motivation, I was much more mature as a person, that I studied every assignment. I read every page I was supposed to read. I did every single assignment, and I knew the material inside and out before setting foot into that class for that next day. And I knew the material better than the instructors. I just completely breezed through college the second time. College was way easier once I was motivated to learn the material the second time around.
Yeah, I think what you were describing with your first time around and why you dropped out like that, I have just like stopped doing university, and it's the exact same reasons. I just don't feel like I can't put my head to the work because it's not, I don't need to. Like I can stay at home, upload YouTube videos, that'll get me along, and it's a hell of a lot more enjoyable to do that, especially when I have the opportunity to do it now, which I might not in the future if I like keep going and try to get a like job and everything. I think
there's a statistic like if you drop out for more than 2 semesters, it's very unlikely you'll ever go back.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Dude, the pressure for me to go to college was high because, I mean, I graduated during COVID, so like, you know, fuck, right? But the pressure is immense. I mean, my sister's in college, I'm not, because I feel like I don't know. I have a direction right now, but in 2020, I think COVID didn't help that. That just fueled the fucking desire to not do anything and just play games.
Oh yeah.
Literally. I mean, I don't know what I would even do if I don't even know what I would major in, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like at first I was telling myself like, oh, I'm going to take a gap year. 2021 comes by.
Yeah, that's how it begins.
I'm going to take another gap year. 2022 comes along. You know, I think I need another gap year. And I got to a point like, that's no.
We're doing a gap decade now.
College isn't for everybody, I don't think. But I just don't know what I would major in. I honestly, I have a good chance. Like I have good opportunities to go to nice community colleges that are cheaper than traditional colleges and that are nice and are very close to where I live. But I don't know what the fuck I would major in, man. I don't know. Maybe engineering.
Yeah.
Something like that. I thought about being an architect, you know, chemist. I don't know.
I'd only do photography because that's the only thing I can picture myself learning at the moment that I would like actually enjoy, and like doing the degree gets you so many links. That's what you need, the networking. Really.
Yeah. I mean, I loved engineering in high school, so maybe I should do that.
Engineers make great money too.
Yeah.
Oh
man.
yeah. Yeah,
I really enjoyed engineering.
actually,
I understand that.
When I first went to university, I was doing engineering, and I just couldn't. It was like the most excruciatingly boring thing. I'm sure it gets more interesting later on, but first lecture, they're like, so if a surgeon makes a mistake, they kill one person. If you make a mistake building a bridge, you kill like thousands of people. So you got to be very sure of what you're doing. Which is so
modern technology is like we can do physics simulations on stuff now as well, and there's just so many things that we can do to prevent, you know, stuff like that from happening.
Oh yeah, and then the lectures were just the most boring shit ever. The group chat just proved to me that these people have no sense of humor, and that was not going to be good.
You know what was real pain? Learning fucking AutoCAD. Everyone hated that.
Oh,
it wasn't until we got to Autodesk Inventor where it was fun. But
I wouldn't go near that. So I switched
if you're in
course
engineering
to
right now, if anyone's listening who's in an engineering class and has messed around with AutoCAD, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, I enjoyed some of it, but like some of it was just very difficult initially, especially the final exam for it. But I don't know. It's just from my experience. They kind of just dropped it all on us when we were learning AutoCAD, and it was very difficult, very fast.
Yeah, but I ended up moving to film production and broadcast, but I feel like that's what people do, and they're like, I want to have fun at university. I didn't enjoy it anyway, but it got me into photography, which I'm grateful for. That's basically the only.
Yeah,
good
I mean,
thing,
to
and
get
the
back on
social
topic though,
aspects.
I do have one more question for you, Dimrain. And I just want to know, what was it like having HJFod interview you a couple years ago? How was that experience?
It was a little jarring and kind of unreal because, I've never been interviewed before, right? Dimrain was largely in the past for me at the time when HJ approached me and said, I'm doing this video about you. Would you like to answer these interview questions? And so, like, the first time someone asks to have you on like a podcast or have you on like an interview, it's kind of like, it's kind of weird. It's like almost like validation, like, wow, like people actually care. It was a little watching the story bottom right corner here, the story of Dimrain47. This guy just put in so much work. I mean, it's crazy how much this person, crazy and scary to think about.
Yeah, that
how
feel
much
weird
this person
watching
learned.
it.
Yeah, it's like I'm watching a biopic of my own life.
Yeah, that must be a really unique and a weird feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
FOD came back.
It was fun. I like coming on programs like this and talking to you all. It's always fun to kind of shoot the shit and talk about like where Dimrain influences came from, and I enjoy that kind of stuff. But HJ was really cool. He did a really great job with the videos, and he was a great interviewer. So I definitely enjoyed my time.
Yeah.
How did you?
That guy was good.
How did he find you? Because weren't you like not around really when he made the video about the story of you? Did you find the video or something, or did he like reach out to you in some niche way?
He reached out. He didn't reach out to me for the story of video. But he did reach out to me. I can't remember how. It might have been through Twitter. But he reached out to me and asked if he could ask additional questions. And I said yes. Cool. Yeah.
So this was 2020. I wonder what I was doing. Probably nothing. But dude,
I don't remember what I was doing.
I'm so surprised that you wanted to come on because I feel like this podcast is slightly leans towards more like adultery. And I don't know. You just didn't strike me as somebody that would, you mean like just come on this, like mature.
Adultery means cheating on your spouse.
Sorry, wrong word. I'm thinking like more adult-oriented content, like in terms of how old we are and stuff we could bring up. I don't know. I just said the wrong word, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I'm surprised too.
I mean maturity.
Yeah, I mean, just how old we are, topics we could talk about. Like, we could talk about taxes for the next 30 minutes, but who wants to hear that? We're all adults.
That's just
we're swearing, for example. That's what I mean.
I was a bit surprised when, after you kind of provided the link to your previous podcast, and I was kind of looking through, I was like, these are all Geometry Dash community members. This is a Geometry Dash podcast, and I was surprised that you asked me to come on because, been a lot of questions in the chat that are like, "What's your favorite level?" and "Who's your favorite, creator?" And I'm sorry, I'm not really a part of the Geometry Dash community. I've been asked several times, like, you should stream a video of you trying to play Geometry Dash. People have been asking for this, and again, it comes down to time. Like. It's like so hard to find the time. Yeah, but I wish I could talk to the community about Geometry Dash more, just to seem more relevant. But it's just not something that I've really done in the past.
Yeah. Does it feel like leaving your comfort zone?
I mean, I'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. It's just that if you ask me a question specific to Geometry Dash, I'm not.
Oh, no, I mean the idea of you like making a potential tweet being like, guys, what level should I play? I just got GD. Is that like a leaving your comfort zone type thing, or you just don't have the time?
No, not at all.
Like
it really comes down to time.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I've got 2 full-time jobs, right? One being a father. And then I have
that must be interesting.
I have the
I can't relate to that one.
It's nuts. It's absolutely insane.
It's a good word to describe it.
The amount of commitment and dedication required is unlike anything else. But I won't bore you with all of that stuff. But yeah, I'm getting more time nowadays, though. Like I said,
Nice.
my kids are growing up. I'm finding more time. I work 100% remotely.
That's
currently
a
work
luxury, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I work as a data platform.
For the mental.
Yeah. I work as a data platform engineer, 100% remote. So
That's
I wake
cool.
up 10 minutes before I get online for the day. And
10 minutes. Wow.
I mean, yeah. Sleep is precious in this household.
Yeah.
So I get as much as I can. I wake up, I start my day at 7, and then around 3 o'clock, I shut my laptop and I'm home. So I definitely have a little bit more freedom to start exploring some of these other things lately. So it's something that I've definitely thought about recently here.
Yeah.
Dude, I can only imagine the feeling as a father of like showing your kids FL Studio and like, playing on the keyboard and the piano, and that must be an amazing experience.
Yeah, so my kids aren't really old enough to do anything like that.
Yeah.
My son, who's 6, has just started to express interest in learning an instrument.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like I want to like work with him, but being a music teacher for 13 years, I taught the students of parents who could have easily taught their kids themselves. But kids have a different level of respect for a third party, like a teacher coming in and teaching them something versus their parent. They don't really respect their parents the same way they respect their teachers.
I get what you mean.
I feel the same way. Like if my kids want to learn music, I'm going to bring in someone from I'm going to hire an instructor. I'm not going to be like, okay, it's time to sit down and for your piano lesson. It's just different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you got the context of just everything else, and then there's also just that it's different when it's just one person who's only for that thing. So you're kind of in that mode when you're around that person at all times.
100%. That's exactly right. Yeah. But I hope I hope they want to do it long term. I've gotten so much out of being a musical person and just being able to express, myself through music has just been such an amazing thing for me.
Oh yeah, man. What have you been listening to recently?
I kind of go on like stints. So there was a time where I was driving around listening to old school video game soundtracks. Like, isn't that kind of weird? Like, I would listen through the Sonic 2
did that
soundtrack
sometimes.
for Sega
I was listening
Genesis.
to Minecraft just a few days ago.
You know what? The Minecraft music, like especially like the original music, I forget what was the artist's
C418.
C418.
That guy. That stuff's incredible.
He's a fucking genius.
That guy is like goated, yeah.
Yeah, that music is so addicting, and just so well done. I love the original Minecraft soundtrack. But yeah, I listen to a lot of like heavy metal type stuff. My wife is a huge like classic hair metal, 80s metal fan. And she usually has her phone hooked up to like, the Bluetooth speaker or whatever. So she's usually in control of what's being listened to. But sometimes when I'm driving in the car, I'll definitely start to branch out and listen to random stuff. But yeah, I love old video game soundtrack type stuff. It's some of my favorite music to listen to, probably because it's so similar to my own, or maybe I write music that's similar to it, vice versa. I don't know.
Do you like Sega Genesis music? The way it's like very gritty and very rough.
Yeah,
I love the way the Genesis sounds.
I love all the
Yeah.
late 80s, early 90s music. I mean, one of my favorite soundtracks is actually from Zelda, Ocarina of Time.
Oh wow, nice.
I don't know if you guys this game might be too old for you guys.
I've heard it's
I know
good,
what
but
it
I've
is.
never played it.
Isn't it N64?
N64, yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Amazing soundtrack though. Like I can come back to it. I'll never get sick of it. I come back to it every year or so. I've got an entire sheet music book printed out with all of the
Do you have any
soundtrack
vinyl
music.
records?
No, I don't have any vinyl records. We have a record player in the house. I don't own any vinyl records though myself.
Should put Dimrain on vinyl.
People have asked for
Oh
it
my
before.
God.
That'd be
Yeah.
kind of cool.
I would buy Dimrain on vinyl. Hell yeah.
I wonder what the design would be like.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yep. And if anybody wants to see that, which
Yeah.
there will be people, it's a good idea, dude. I grew up on a lot of like 90s rock, like Foo Fighters, Van Halen, Pearl Jam. I grew up with that stuff, and it's so ingrained into my brain.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of the songs, Everlong, fucking masterpiece, stuff like that. My Hero, Jeremy. I don't know if I should have been listening to Jeremy at that age, but I didn't know what it was about. But I mean,
Yeah,
right
I was
now,
growing up on like.
I've been listening to like Phil Collins, Genesis, that sort of stuff, like 80s stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at right now. So,
Yeah, my parents were like Joy Division, Prodigy, that kind of stuff. A lot of drum and bass as well.
So the Prodigy was probably my first exposure to like electronic music.
Yeah, they're very good.
I think the song is called Breaking and Entering. There's a Prodigy track. The album cover is like a guy's face coming out of like silver.
Oh, Music for
background.
the Jilted Generation is something like that.
That's the one. That's the one.
Yeah, this one. I was gonna say something. I forgot what it was. I had a really interesting question about something. Fuck. I guess I need to eat. I guess that's making me forget.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, we're gonna end here in a second, but I mean, unless we have anything else we want to say, which I can't really think of much. I'm surprised I got the Inferno thing right though. I was honestly expecting you just to be like, what? But like, I mean, that was like awesome when it clicked like that. I'm like, yes, dude. That was such a cool thing. Damn, I forgot what I was gonna ask, man. Fuck. Whatever. I mean, I guess we can get ready to wrap it up. I'm sure, actually, you're in California. You're not eating dinner yet. It's 7:30 here. I got to eat dinner.
I'm getting pretty hungry, to be honest.
It's 0:39 a.m. here.
Yep, and then Finn lives in the UK, which is not a real place, but
yeah.
Right,
I'm sorry to say, sleep has not been precious today.
All right, well, I guess Dimrain, I guess just if you have any future plans, let the people know.
For sure, we'll see what happens. I'd just like to say thanks for having me on. It's been fun. I hope everyone enjoyed.
I did.
Hearing us shoot the shit.
Nervous.
Oh yeah.
little bit lacking, I think, on the Geometry Dash talk. I hope no one was disappointed. But
we can always come back in the future.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thanks again, guys. I had fun.
Yeah, this was fun as hell, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, lots of insight.
If anybody wants to see Dimrain come back on in the future, just let us know. And if you want to see any future guests that you want to see on the podcast, just let us know as well. This has been episode 22 of the Dasher podcast, and I will see everyone else another time. See you guys.
Yep. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.